Mastering your mind is the foundation of every victory you will ever claim in life. Nothing you touch, no achievement you pursue, no dream you chase will ever come to life unless you first take full command of the battlefield within. Too often people want to conquer the world, but they can't even conquer their own thoughts. They want to outsmart others, but they haven't outsmarted the voices of fear, doubt, and insecurity that whisper in their own heads every day. If you do not master your mind will master you, and it will drag you into mediocrity before you even realize it. Mastering your mind is the foundation of every victory you will ever claim in life. Nothing you touch, no achievement you pursue, no dream you chase will ever come to life unless you first take full command of the battlefield within. Too often people want to conquer the world, but they can't even conquer their own thoughts. They want to outsmart others, but they haven't outsmarted the voices of fear, doubt, and insecurity that whisper in their own heads every day. If you do not master your mind will master you, and it will drag you into mediocrity before you even realize it. Think about this: the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is not always talent, intelligence, or even opportunity. It is the ability to control the storm inside. Every obstacle you face is magnified or minimized by the way you think about it. If you see challenges as impossible, you have lost before you start. But if you see them as opportunities to grow stronger, you suddenly turn what was meant to break you into something that builds you. That shift does not happen by accident. It happens by intentional training of the mind. Your thoughts shape your reality. If you constantly feed yourself negativity, you will act in alignment with that negativity. If you keep telling yourself you are not good enough, you will move through life as though you are not. But if you begin to speak power into your own life, if you learn to silence the destructive voices and amplify the constructive ones, you create a foundation of strength that no one can shake. Mastering your mind is about being deliberate with what you allow to stay in your head. Not every thought deserves a seat at your table. Not every emotion deserves to take command of your decisions. Control of the mind means control of your emotional responses. When people insult you, when life throws you into chaos, when failure knocks you down, the average person reacts with anger, with panic, or with despair. But mastery means choosing differently. It means staying calm when others lose their composure. It means thinking logically when others act out of fear. It means holding your ground when the storm comes, because you know storms always pass. That is why discipline is not just about action, it is about mental clarity. If you can stay clear while everyone else is clouded, you will always have the advantage. This kind of mastery does not come overnight. It requires practice. Just as athletes train their bodies daily, you must train your mind. It begins with awareness. Notice what triggers your negative thoughts. Notice what throws you off balance. Pay attention to the patterns of doubt or anger that try to control you. Once you are aware, you can challenge them. Instead of letting fear tell you that you cannot, remind yourself that fear is nothing but a signal that growth is ahead. Instead of letting stress paralyze you, tell yourself that pressure is proof that you are in the game, not sitting on the sidelines. You must also feed your mind with strength. Read books that elevate your thinking. Surround yourself with voices that inspire growth rather than drag you down. Replace distractions with discipline. If you fill your head with nonsense, don't be surprised when nonsense flows out of your life. What you consume mentally is just as important as what you consume physically. Garbage in, garbage out. Strength in, strength out. Another element of mastering your mind is patience. Too many people lose control because they want immediate results. They cannot delay gratification, and so they settle for quick fixes instead of lasting success. Mastery is understanding that the mind must be trained to see the bigger picture, to delay the reward in exchange for something greater. This patience keeps you from rushing into decisions, keeps you from being manipulated, and keeps you steady when others are desperate. Finally, remember that mastering your mind does not mean ignoring your emotions. It means harnessing them. Anger, fear, doubt, even sadness, they are not your enemies. They are signals. They show you where you need to grow, where you need to heal, where you need to rise higher. Mastery means listening to those signals, but not being controlled by them. Use your emotions as fuel, not chains. Let them push you forward instead of holding you back. When you take command of your thoughts and emotions, when you stop being a prisoner to negativity and start being the author of your own mindset, you become unshakable. The world can throw anything at you, but nothing can break you because you are no longer battling yourself. And once you win that battle, every other battle becomes easier. Never showing your full hand is not about hiding who you are. It is about understanding the power of strategy. Life is not just about talent or effort. It is about knowing when to reveal and when to withhold, when to move and when to wait. Too often, people lose their edge because they talk too much, they show too much, they give away their intentions before the game has even started. If you want to dominate in life, you must learn the art of restraint. The smartest players are not the ones who display everything at once. They are the ones who let others underestimate them, the ones who reveal just enough to stay relevant while keeping their true power hidden until the moment it is most effective. When you keep your plans close, you deny others the ability to predict you. Prediction is control. If someone can anticipate your every move, they can counter you. They can undermine you. They can block your path before you even take a step. But if you remain unpredictable, if you move in silence, you strip away their advantage. The world cannot counter what it cannot see. Silence becomes your armor, and surprise becomes your greatest weapon. Consider how many times people ruin opportunities by speaking too soon. They share their dreams with those who do not understand them, and those dreams are killed before they even take root. They announce every goal before they have even taken the first step, and then when they fail to deliver, their words come back to haunt them. Talking about a move is not the same as making a move. Revealing your hand does not bring you closer to victory. It often gives your opponent the map to defeat you. Learn to let results speak louder than your declarations. Let your work announce itself, because when action speaks, no one can argue with it. Never showing your full hand also creates an aura of mystery. When people cannot fully read you, they begin to respect you differently. They lean in, trying to understand your next step, but never quite grasping it. That uncertainty gives you psychological power. It keeps them cautious while you stay in control. Think of it as a game of chess. If your opponent cannot predict which piece you will move next, they are forced to play defensively. They waste energy preparing for possibilities that may never come, while you quietly build the strategy that will checkmate them. Restraint also protects your energy. Every time you overshare, you give away a piece of yourself. Every time you let everyone know your next move, you open the door for interference, criticism, or sabotage. Some people don't want you to win, and when you show them your entire plan, you hand them the tools to break it. By keeping certain things private, by revealing only what is necessary, you shield yourself from unnecessary battles. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Not everyone is qualified to handle your truth. Learn to separate who needs to know from who simply wants to know. But never showing your full hand is not about deception. It's about timing. There will be moments when revealing your strength is necessary, but only when it serves a purpose. Power is most effective when it appears suddenly, when it strikes without warning. That is why the quiet worker who has been underestimated often shocks the world when they finally reveal what they have been building. People remember those moments because they come unexpected, and the impact is far greater than if they had been announced months or years in advance. Patience plays a critical role in this. Holding back requires self-control. It requires resisting the urge to prove yourself too soon. Many people sabotage themselves because they crave recognition before the work is complete. They want validation, so they reveal too much too early. But mastery is about knowing that your validation will not come from talk. It will come from victory. You do not need to announce your greatness if your results are undeniable. Another advantage of this principle is adaptability. When you don't lock yourself into one revealed path, you have the flexibility to adjust. If circumstances change, you can pivot without anyone realizing it, because no one knew your original move in the first place. That freedom allows you to stay dynamic while others are trapped by their own words. By keeping your hand hidden, you can rewrite the rules whenever you need to, without being held hostage by past promises. In the end, never showing your full hand is about positioning yourself for long-term success. It is not about playing small, but about playing smart. It is about understanding that not every thought deserves to be spoken, not every plan deserves to be announced, and not every move deserves an audience. Let your actions echo louder than your words, let your silence work harder than your noise, and let your victories arrive like thunder after lightning. When people least expect it, that is when your true power should be revealed. And by then, it will be too late for anyone to stop you. Outworking them in the dark is the secret weapon that separates the good from the great, the ordinary from the extraordinary. When the world is quiet, when distractions are asleep, when no one is watching or clapping or validating you, that is when the real difference is made. Too many people want to shine in the spotlight, but they forget that the spotlight only reveals what was built in the shadows. Every championship, every victory, every breakthrough begins in those unseen hours where effort goes unnoticed but never wasted. The crowd only sees the finish line. They don't see the lonely nights, the sacrifices, the sweat, and the relentless grind that built the foundation. Outworking them in the dark means understanding that success is earned, not given. You cannot cheat the process. You cannot fake preparation. You may be able to talk your way into attention, but you cannot talk your way into greatness. Greatness is carved in silence, in those early mornings when everyone else is still dreaming, in those late nights when everyone else has already given up for the day. It is forged in consistency, in choosing to work when there is no applause, in choosing discipline over comfort, in choosing growth over rest when growth is what is required. The truth is, most people are average not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. They work only when it feels good, when someone is watching, when the reward is immediate. But the ones who rise above are those who have made a pact with themselves. No matter who notices, no matter how they feel, the work will get done. They have trained themselves to fall in love with the grind itself, not just the results it brings. The process becomes their reward, and because they fall in love with the process, the results eventually chase them down. Working in the dark is not glamorous. There are no cameras. There is no praise. There are no shortcuts. It is often frustrating, often lonely, often exhausting. But it is in that space that discipline is sharpened. The ones who stay consistent when no one is clapping are the ones who will be unstoppable when the lights finally come on. Think of the athlete who runs sprints in the rain when no one else shows up. Think of the student who studies long after their classmates have gone to sleep. Think of the entrepreneur who keeps building in silence while others waste time chasing validation. These are the people who shock the world later because no one saw the work being done. Another reason outworking them in the dark is powerful is because it makes you immune to comparison. When you are grinding quietly, when your eyes are locked on your own growth, you stop worrying about what others are doing. You no longer measure yourself against the noise of someone else's highlight reel because you know your real progress is happening in places no one can see. That detachment gives you freedom. It keeps you grounded. It allows you to focus only on becoming better than who you were yesterday. There will always be people with more natural talent, more resources, or more opportunities than you. But hard work in silence is the great equalizer. Talent can fail if it is not fueled by effort. Resources can be wasted if they are not maximized by preparation. Opportunity can slip away if someone is not ready to seize it. But the one who has outworked everyone else, the one who has sharpened their craft in the dark, will always have the advantage. Because when the moment of truth comes, when the lights finally turn on, the one who put in the unseen work will not crack under pressure. They will rise, because they have already rehearsed victory thousands of times in silence. Outworking them in the dark also builds resilience. When you work without recognition, you train yourself not to depend on applause. You learn to keep moving without validation, to keep pushing without encouragement, to keep believing without evidence. That resilience makes you unbreakable. Because when the inevitable setbacks come, you will not fold. You have already built strength in the shadows where no one was there to cheer you on. And that strength will carry you when others quit. At the heart of it, outworking them in the dark is about faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the process, faith that your time will come. It is about planting seeds when the soil looks barren, trusting that the harvest will eventually appear. It is about putting in hours of practice, hours of study, hours of sacrifice with the belief that it all matters, even when no one else sees it. And when that day finally comes, when you step onto the stage, when you walk into the arena, when you face the challenge, you won't need to pretend. You won't need to fake confidence. You will simply perform because you have already earned it in the shadows. So remember this, success does not belong to those who show off the most. It belongs to those who prepare the most. While they sleep, while they talk, while they waste time, you will be working. And when the light finally finds you, the world will call it talent, they will call it luck. But you will know the truth. You outworked them when no one was looking. You outworked them in the dark. Staying 2 steps ahead is the difference between playing the game and controlling the game. Most people live in reaction. They wait for things to happen and then scramble to respond. They wait for opportunities to come and then fight for them when everyone else is already in line. They wait for challenges to arrive and then panic because they were unprepared. Living this way leaves you trapped, always chasing, always struggling to catch up. But those who win in life, those who rise above the chaos, are the ones who anticipate. They see the storm before the clouds form. They prepare the solution before the problem shows up. They are already moving while everyone else is still standing still. That is what it means to stay 2 steps ahead. Staying 2 steps ahead begins with awareness. You cannot predict what you refuse to pay attention to. Too many people walk through life blind to the patterns around them. They do not study people. They do not study trends. They do not study their own mistakes. They repeat the same cycles over and over because they refuse to look deeper. Awareness means being alert, being observant, being willing to study the details others overlook. It means listening when others only hear noise. The smallest signals often give away the biggest truths, but only to those who are watching closely enough to notice. When you are 2 steps ahead, you make decisions differently. You stop making choices based on what feels good in the moment and start making choices based on where they will lead you tomorrow. You sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term advantage. The person who cannot delay gratification will always be trapped in the present. They want pleasure now, but they pay the price later. The person who thinks ahead chooses discipline now so they can reap the benefits later. They skip the shortcuts because they see the trap hidden behind them. They avoid the easy way because they know it costs more in the long run. Staying ahead means you are willing to do today what most people won't, so you can live tomorrow the way most people can't. Another key to staying 2 steps ahead is preparation. The future is uncertain, but that does not mean you cannot be ready. Preparation builds confidence. It eliminates fear. The unprepared person panics when challenges arrive. The prepared person simply adjusts and keeps moving. Preparation is the quiet insurance that guarantees you will not be caught off guard. If you know a storm might come, you build shelter before it arrives. If you know competition is fierce, you sharpen your skills before you step into the arena. By the time others are scrambling to get ready, you are already in motion because you prepared long before they even thought about it. But staying ahead is not just about reacting faster, it is about shaping outcomes. When you anticipate what others want or need, you position yourself as the solution before they even ask. That is power. That is influence. People gravitate toward those who seem to always have the answers, who seem to always be ready, who seem to see what others don't. This perception is not luck. It is the result of thinking beyond the obvious, of training your mind to look at the second and third consequence of every action. Every decision creates ripples. The average person only looks at the first ripple. The strategist studies the chain reaction. That foresight is what allows you to stay in control while others are constantly surprised. Staying 2 steps ahead also requires adaptability. You cannot predict everything, but you can stay flexible enough to adjust quickly. Rigidity is the enemy of foresight. If you are locked into one plan, one path, one way of thinking, you will crumble when the unexpected arrives. But if you stay light on your feet, if you remain open to change, you can pivot without losing momentum. The key is not to have every detail planned, but to have the discipline, the skill set, and the mindset to adjust faster than anyone else when circumstances shift. Most importantly, staying ahead is about vision. You have to see beyond the immediate. You have to think not just about where you are, but about where you are going. Visionaries are not trapped by the present moment. They live with their eyes on the horizon. They see opportunities before they fully form, and they prepare to seize them. They see dangers before they become disasters, and they avoid them. Vision keeps you focused, disciplined, and motivated because you are not just living for today. You are building for a future that others cannot yet see. The truth is, life is a chessboard. Most people play it like checkers, thinking only one move at a time. They jump impulsively, hoping for the best. But the masters think like chess players. They see the whole board. They think multiple moves ahead. They position themselves strategically, not just for the next move, but for the one after that. They understand that winning is not about moving the fastest. It is about moving the smartest. If you want to dominate in life, if you want to rise above the average, if you want to truly outsmart anyone, you must discipline yourself to stay 2 steps ahead. Anticipate, prepare, adapt, hold the vision. While the rest of the world reacts, you will already be moving forward. While they struggle to catch up, you will already be gone. And when they finally realize what happened, it will be too late, because you were always 2 steps ahead. Control the battlefield is not about fighting harder. It is about shaping the fight before it even begins. The strongest competitor is not always the one with the most talent or resources, but the one who dictates the terms of engagement. If you allow others to define the rules, set the pace, or create the environment, you are already at a disadvantage. But when you take command of the space you are in, When you decide how the game will be played, you shift the balance of power entirely. Control is not about domination through force. It is about influence, presence, and strategy that forces others to adjust to you. Every environment is a battlefield. The workplace, the classroom, the business deal, even your personal life. Each space comes with challenges, pressures, and competition. Most people simply react to whatever environment they are placed in. They adapt to someone else's rules. They let circumstances decide their mood, their behavior, and their choices. But the few who rise to the top refuse to be molded by their surroundings. Instead, they impose themselves on the environment. They bring energy, discipline, and clarity that shifts the atmosphere around them. People who control the battlefield do not wait for conditions to be favorable. They create favorable conditions through preparation, confidence, and decisiveness. Controlling the battlefield begins with presence. When you walk into a room, you do not need to speak loudly or demand attention. True presence is quiet power. It is the aura you carry when you know you have put in the work, when you are grounded in who you are, and when you refuse to shrink to make others comfortable. Presence is not arrogance. It is certainty. It is the calmness in your posture, the steadiness in your tone, the confidence in your decisions. When you carry yourself this way, people naturally adjust to you. The energy of the room bends in your direction, and that is the first step to controlling the space you occupy. Another element of control is preparation. You cannot dictate the pace if you are not ready. The unprepared are always reactive. They scramble, they panic, they try to catch up, but the prepared person already has the knowledge, the plan, and the skill set to stay ahead. Preparation eliminates fear and builds authority. When you know your craft inside out, when you anticipate challenges before they arise, you can move with decisiveness while others hesitate, and in moments of hesitation, control is lost. But the prepared are able to seize control because they are never caught off guard. Control also comes from setting standards. When you decide what level of excellence is acceptable and refuse to compromise, you force others to either rise to meet it or remove themselves. Too often, people lower their standards to fit into the environment around them. They adjust to mediocrity. They allow laziness or negativity to set the tone. But those who control the battlefield hold firm to their principles. They create a culture of excellence simply by refusing to settle for less. Over time, this standard becomes the new normal and others adapt to it. That is leadership in its purest form, not through titles, but through influence. Another key to controlling the battlefield is pacing. The person who sets the rhythm of the encounter controls the flow. Think of a boxer in the ring. If you fight on your opponent's rhythm, you are reacting. But if you control the tempo, you dictate when to strike, when to rest, when to pressure, and when to hold back. The same is true in life. If you let others rush you, you make mistakes. If you let others slow you down, you lose momentum. But when you control the pace, you stay in charge. You choose when to act and when to wait. That patience and timing gives you power over the situation. Controlling the battlefield also means mastering your emotions. If someone can provoke you, they control you. If circumstances can frustrate you into poor decisions, you have lost the fight before it even began. But when you remain calm under pressure, when you think clearly in chaos, you keep the advantage. Emotional discipline allows you to see opportunities others miss. It keeps you from being manipulated. It ensures that every move you make is deliberate, not reactive. The calmest person in the room is often the most powerful because chaos cannot control them. Finally, controlling the battlefield is about vision. You must see beyond the immediate moment and shape the direction of the entire encounter. People who lack vision focus only on the current problem. People who control the battlefield focus on the outcome. They already know where they want to end up, so every decision, every move, every word is aligned with that destination. That clarity makes them dangerous because they are not distracted by noise. They already see the end game, and they are steering everything toward it. When you take control of the battlefield, you shift from being a participant to being the orchestrator. You no longer react to life. Life reacts to you. You no longer play someone else's game. You make others play yours. And when people are forced to adjust to your energy, your standards, your pace, and your vision, you hold the advantage before the fight even begins. That is real power, not in shouting, not in forcing, but in quietly and confidently commanding the space you are in until victory becomes inevitable.